Good morning and welcome to our 10 minutes at 10 for everyone today. So today we are going to talk about more killer apps. We're going to look at Tripcatcher. Now Tripcatcher is a brilliant app for catching the mileage. So if you're traveling from one location to another on a business trip, you can capture your mileage in the Tripcatcher app. Just add the postcode from where you're leaving to where you're going and it will calculate the mileage for you. Tripcatcher is probably one of the best, I think it's one of the best mileage applications on the marketplace. So why do we like Tripcatcher? Let me bring my points up. So it's quick and it's easy to use. You can use it on mobile or on desktop app. It auto calculates the difference and at the correct claim rate. So when you trip over the 10,000 mile threshold and it goes from 45 pence per mile to 25 pence per mile, Tripcatcher automatically makes that change for you so that you don't fall over and keep claiming at 45 pence per mile, which is a really common error with mileage payments. It also calculates the VAT. So there are two elements to the 45 pence per mile claim. Part of it is a fuel element that you can reclaim the VAT on if you capture enough VAT receipts. And the second element is like a wear and tear element. So it's the cost of your mileage, your tyres, your wear and tear on the property, screen repairs, that kind of thing. So you can't claim those independently if you're driving your own car, but you can claim the wear and tear in your mileage. So you wouldn't use Tripcatcher to record mileage of a company car, but you would use it to capture the mileage on your personal car. And also, of course, it syncs to Xero or Receipt Bank. So however you or your staff submit your receipts, your mileage claims, it will allow you to submit the claim from Tripcatcher to Xero. So let's just move screens and I'll show you what the actual product looks like itself. So according to Tripcatcher, it's the easy way to manage your expenses. You've got an individual, you've got a partner, you've got a corporate. You shouldn't need to worry about that. You'd almost certainly be claiming it as an individual, unless, of course, your accountant is providing Tripcatcher as part of your package. It is really good for HMRC compliant claims, so it captures the 45 pence per mile. Once you reach the threshold, it goes over to 25 pence, automatically calculates the distance for you. You can save your favourite trips and recurring trips. So if you go to the same client every Friday, for example, you can capture that as a recurring trip. Now be careful not to overclaim on that because I have seen that happen. It integrates with your cloud software, of course, otherwise you wouldn't use it. And you can reclaim the VAT on your fuel, as I've just said. So the advisory rates for the claiming the VAT on fuel change every quarter. So Tripcatcher will automatically claim those for you and tell you how many receipts you need to capture. And you've got the mobile app and the desktop app, and then you've got some jolly people down the bottom who really like it. So I've used Tripcatcher since it first came out. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. So let's have a look at how to set it up when we first set up our Tripcatcher account. So you'll set your Tripcatcher account up. You will tell it that you want it to publish either to Xero or Receipt Bank. If your Tripcatcher account is being set up by your accountant on their account, so they might have an agent account as an accountant, that you'll get an invitation to Tripcatcher. So that's how we do it with our clients. So you then connect to Xero. If your accountant does this for you, they'll have already done this bit. And then at the bottom, it's if you're claiming your mileage partway through the year, or you start using Tripcatcher partway through the year and you've claimed mileage manually before then, you can set your mileage year-to-date claim so that Tripcatcher then knows when you've hit the 10,000 miles threshold. Now, the mileage threshold or the mileage claim for 10,000 runs the same as the tax year. So it runs from the 6th of April through to the 5th of April. It's not your calendar year or your business year, it's the tax year. So this is, if you think of it as, it runs in line with tax years and tax deductible expenses and tax returns and P11Ds, because if you carried on paying the 45 pence per mile for 10,000 miles and over, the difference between the 45 pence being paid and the 25 pence that HMRC allows as a tax deductible expense then becomes a benefit in kind. So you need to keep an eye on that. So typically, most businesses will pay the 45 pence per mile for the first 10,000 miles, which is the maximum that you can give to your employees or yourself as a director tax-free. And then after that, it's 25 pence per mile, or the difference between the two, if you overpay, is a benefit in kind, which is taxable and needs to be reported on a P11D. So back to setting up your Tripcatcher account. You've put your mileage in for how many miles that you've not logged on Tripcatcher in this current tax year. And then you set up your vehicle and your rate card. So you'd set up you're using a company car or your own vehicle. Now, if you're using a company car driving, you can claim the mileage. There are different reasons for that. So you wouldn't necessarily be claiming the mileage, but what you're looking at is how much business miles is being claimed and utilised in the business versus what is personal. So if you reimburse the personal mileage, then you don't get taxed on the fuel. So that's a whole different issue that we'll talk about another day. So for the time being, we're only setting up our own vehicle. We're using the HMRC rate card. We're going to claim the VAT on the mileage because we're a VAT registered entity. And say I have a petrol car and it is under 2000 cc's. So you don't need to make any changes down here where you've got the HMRC rate card. This is automatic. But what you may be interested to know is that passengers, if you carry a passenger in your car to a business event, then there is an additional claim for the additional weight burden of 5 pence per calendar mile. So if you're regularly taking somebody else to business meetings, it's worth claiming for the passengers as well. If you're a director, this is a really good tax efficient way of getting cash out of your business. And if you're the employee, then this is a good way of making sure that you're claiming everything that you should be paid for the wear and tear on your car for driving people to and from events. So let's have a look and see what an actual claim itself would look like. So if we are, let's go back into here, right, so if we're setting up our first trip, what we have here is, say on Wednesday the 21st of August, which is the day we're recording this, I'm going to travel in my car for a business meeting with Bob, and I'm going from Birmingham, which is actually, this is the NEC, to the Shard in London. If I want to look at the map to see where I'm going from Birmingham to London. We're assuming it's direct. I'm going to, it's 117 miles, and I can flag here whether it's a return trip or whether it's a one-way. So for me, I'm going to claim £234 for a return trip, and I'm going to take 2 passengers. Now, I could save this trip to favourites. I'm not going to at the moment, but I could do. And once I've saved this trip to my expense claim, I would then go to my expense claim, and you'll see this expense claim is added onto my expense claims. So I can show my mileage claim, which shows me how much is fuel versus how much is not fuel. It tells me how much in VAT returns or VAT receipts I need to hold. Well, I'll turn that off. So my claim, if I wanted to publish this for this last month, say I'm making a mileage claim every month. I would make my claims for my trips during August, and then I'd publish them at the end of each month to build up a mileage claim. Now, some people do it daily, some people do it weekly, some people do it monthly. It all depends on what suits you. But here I've got 34 miles that I've travelled, that I'm claiming for at £105.30. I'm claiming another £23 for the passengers that I took. So my mileage claim here, which is tax-free from the business is £128.70. Now, if I'm VAT registered, I need £35.10 worth of supporting VAT receipts to prove that I've actually bought fuel. Now, this is a bit of a HMRC oddity, because just because you've bought fuel doesn't mean to say that you've used that fuel for that journey. You just need to prove that at some point during the month you have bought fuel, and you're not you're not claiming for a trip where you went in somebody else's car. So it's one of these sort of old legacy requirements, but Tripcatcher then helps you do that. So if you then publish the detailed claim to zero, so this test account isn't connected to zero, you would then see that going through into your zero account, and it will be received as a draft invoice that you can then approve and pay. So Tripcatcher, really, really good for managing your trips, managing your mileage, and making sure that your company pays you everything that is owed to it. So that is our 10 minutes at 10 today to talk through Tripcatcher for mileage claims. Thank you for joining us. If you've enjoyed today's video, please let me know in the comments. And if you have any queries about Tripcatcher, please let me know in the comments. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.